Standard 1.1 ISTE Criterion 2, Set Professional Learning Goals. Set professional learning goals to explore and apply pedagogical approaches made possible by technology and reflect on their effectiveness. In this artifact, I set 2 professional learning goals to use my knowledge to create a classroom environment driven by technology and to grow my bank of instructional resources so that several resources are in constant use in the classroom. I accomplish these goals by increasing the use of technology through our lessons and in students' free time. Using technology, I was able to help drive student exploration of technological resources while applying content knowledge while using various resources. I reflected on the effectiveness of the technological resources that were used by evaluating how students use the tool to showcase what they have learned. For this lesson, students will be able to multiply fractions by a whole number and solve word problems. Through this lesson, I wanted to introduce students to using Jamboard. They had never been introduced to Jamboard prior to this lesson. So for the standards, students will display basic knowledge and concepts of technology use by using productivity tools. They will also use problem-solving tools, and they were working on, again, multiplying fractions by a whole number and solving word problems. It started with a mini lesson where students will review something that we have already learned to activate their background knowledge. We were going to go over multiplying fractions by a whole number. I reminded them that when we multiply a fraction by a whole number, we must write the whole number as a fraction with a denominator of 1, then multiply the numerators and denominators like normal. After we worked on the mini lesson, we solved a problem together, and then I allowed students to go into their independent work. For independent work, you will show what you know by solving word problems where you must multiply a whole number by a fraction. Then in small groups, students were able to work through various tasks, constructive response problems, math games, multiplication fluency, and there was also a teacher group. In closing, students were able to respond to a word problem on Jamboard. They will answer and write any questions or comments about the lesson on the Jamboard as well. They had multiple forms of technology. Technology supported student learning in this lesson in various ways. Students use their technology for small groups as well as their lesson closing. I use technology to deliver the lesson, track data, and review data for the small group lessons. Students used iReady for multiplication fluency, and I pulled data from iReady and Synergy to form their small groups. In addition, for the lesson closer, the lesson ended with students participating in a Jamboard where they solved the word problem. Jake lives 7 miles from his job. If he rode his bike 8/12 of the distance and then walked the rest, how far did he ride his bike? Standard 4.2 Criterion 13. Co-learn with students about a new digital tool. Collaborate and co-learn with students to discover and use new digital resources and diagnose and troubleshoot technology issues. In this artifact, I introduced students to Jamboard, a digital resource that was new to them. We used the co-learning approach to explore the uses of Jamboard together. We were able to collaborate with one another on how we could use Jamboard as our exit ticket for our multiplying fractions by a whole number lesson. We discovered the tools Jamboard had to offer and worked through to troubleshoot any issues that presented themselves. By being a co-learner, I was able to learn new strategies, collaborate ideas with students, and challenge them to try new things. We went through the entire lesson of multiplying fractions by a whole number, starting with the lesson opener, going through the goals of the lesson to multiply a fraction by a whole number, but also as our second goal, it was to use technology resources effectively and respectfully. We solved problems separately and together. We practiced with one another. Students were able to try on their own. We solved another word problem together, and students were given their independent work. Outside of their independent work, students were given small groups. They were to use technology for their multiplication fluency lesson as well as the pizza fractions math game. I pulled data using technology from Synergy to use to construct the small groups for this week. For the lesson closer, we used Jamboard to solve a problem, ask questions, and leave comments about the lesson. This was my students' first time using Jamboard, so it was very interesting to see how they interacted with the platform. When we first started on the Jamboard, I allowed them to just play around first so they could get all their they were curious about the platform, so they could get that all out. I allowed them to play around on the platform to begin. As we got started, I introduced them to the different features of the platform, the sticky notes, the pen tool, and showed them how they would use it. Here is the Jamboard that students created. They were to respond to the problem: Jake lives 7 miles from his job. If he rode his bike 8/12 of the distance and then walked the rest, how far did he ride his bike? These were the student responses that I received. I need more help. I feel great about what I learned. Do I always have to simplify? And can you help me solve this privately? And I got it correct. Every student did not know how to use the pen tool on the Jamboard, so this is where I finally worked out the problem to show them the answer. So a lot of them still decided to use their notebooks to work it out, but I was very grateful for the students that decided to use the sticky notes to ask for more help or leave comments about the lesson. I think that because this was the first time we were using Jamboard in the classroom, it could have gone a little smoother, but I'm still glad that we got the results that we did. As we continue to use Jamboard in the classroom, it definitely got a lot better.